Expedition 2012 is a 1,200-mile, 65-day canoe trip that will take members of the Keewaydin Foundation from central Vermont to Ontario's James Bay. But these guys aren't going to just show up and jump into canoes. Oh no, they spent the last year planning, fundraising, and actually building the canoes they're paddling in. Johnny Clore is here from Expedition 2012. So 1,200 miles, I mean, that is pretty substantial paddle. And to put that in perspective for people, that's the equivalent of paddling from Philadelphia to Miami, right?
Yeah, it's quite a haul for us.
So what motivated this?
I think at the core, it's all about, this is just what we want to do. This is what we love doing. We've been doing it for a long time, and the other 9 guys on this trip, we all share this passion for being out in the woods and paddling canoes for long distances. And so, you know, 3 years ago when this idea first came to us, it was while we were hiking, while we were in the outdoors, and thinking about how great it would be to share more time with each other out in the woods. And so from that one day, we've now got these 65, 70 days that we'll be out there on this trip.
Yeah, you'll definitely be sharing some good times together.
Yeah.
What I find it amazing is that obviously you're taking this huge 1,200-mile paddle, but you're going to be doing it in boats that you've built by hand. We've actually prepared a short little feature to take a look at what you guys have done, so let's check that out.
Great.
This has been home for the last 14, 15 years every summer for some of us. So it's at base so familiar, but yet, you know, we've spent the last several months working on these boats, making sure that, you know, they were just going to be perfect, and they were perfect. It was great sitting out there. It's cold out there. It's going to be colder when we leave, so it's good to get a taste of that now so we can plan for it. But a lot of fun.
One thing that really gives me confidence about this group is the fact that we could be off doing other things, but we're all here willing to give up time to make sure this thing happens. You know, this is it's a pretty ambitious project.
Just hold the rails together a little bit towards the stem. All right, now we lift it, and we can just actually roll it towards Tom.
One of the most satisfying parts of building these wood canvas canoes is it's, you know, reminded me that in a lot of ways the canoe, you know, it's like your home on the trip. You know, it's the most essential piece of gear you have. It's not just a piece of plastic you can ding up on some rocks. And building the canoes has given me a way better appreciation for, you know, what it means to build a canoe and then, you know, take it on a trip.
Wow, that is very impressive. Who taught you how to build canoes?
We're actually really lucky that Keewaydin has a professional boat builder that they've been working with for a long time named Skylar Thompson, and building canoes is his livelihood. So last winter, I went down to his workshop in Connecticut, and he was incredibly hospitable and willing to teach me as many tricks of the trade as he could in the short time I had with him. So he showed me how to do it. We actually built the first canoe for the expedition, and this fall when we came back to camp, I had, you know, enough knowledge, and I had Skylar on speed dial, so we were able to build the next 4.
So why was it important for you to actually build them by hand? I mean, why not just buy a new canoe?
Yeah, you know, when you paddle a canoe, you have a certain connection with it anyway, and I've been paddling canoes like this for a number of years. But to be able to actually be a part of the birth of that canoe, you know, to be a part of its story from the very beginning is special in a whole other way. A lot of these canoes have been around camp for 100 years or close to it and have the name of some venerable staff painted on the side. But these are canoes that we got to write their story, or we will write their story over the course of this expedition.
So speaking of the expedition, it is more than you know, your next great adventure. You're actually raising some money for a great cause.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mentioned at the beginning that this is what I love to do. This is what the crew loves to do. it's also our passion to share the outdoors, to share those kinds of experiences with kids who might develop the same kind of passion that we have. And we know that not everybody is always able to attend a place like Keewaydin that provides these kinds of experiences. So what we want to do is create a scholarship that can allow some other kids who might not otherwise be able to actually come to Keewaydin, get into the woods, and experience the sort of the peace and the beauty of paddling in a wood canvas canoe.
Nice. So tell us a bit more about Keewaydin, what kind of programs they offer, what kind of camp is it?
Yeah, Keewaydin is a rustic camp in rural Vermont, in the Green Mountains on a lake, really emphasizing canoeing, simplicity, campfires. One of the things that we do especially well, I think, is actually canoe trips. And so unlike a lot of camps that it's just in the base camp, you're around playing sports or whatever, we also take our kids out into the woods for a week, 2 weeks, a month at a time, and they get to really experience a little bit of what we're going to be experiencing, that sense of carrying everything that you're going to eat and having to power yourself from point A to point B.
So it's a little bit more than s'mores and bug juice, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, definitely.
So in addition to its wilderness trips, Keewaydin also has quite an environmental mission, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Keewaydin, in fact, runs an environmental education center during the fall and spring for school kids from around Vermont to come to. And what we want to do is really use the platform of this trip to encourage increased thoughtfulness about environmental impacts. In Vermont, we get a lot of our power from hydroelectric dams, and in a lot of ways, that's a great thing. It's a renewable source, and in a lot of ways, it's something that the Vermont residents never see or have to think about. And there's logging in Canada that we don't see or think about. So it's not for us about standing on a soapbox and telling people what's right and wrong about the environment. It's more about encouraging people to think about the environment and how what they're doing, the choices that they're making, are really having an impact on the wilderness that we do hold dear.
Which is so important. I mean, just to have that thought process and get in the discussion.
Absolutely. Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you.
We'll have a follow-up report on Expedition 2012 later this year in an episode of our evening series, Dispatches. You're watching Outside Today, exclusively on Outside Television.